ever gotten into a very complex chess position and just had no idea what to do? Just like you're supposed to find candidate moves and nothing really works, and you try to calculate, you try to use general principles and so on. Today's game in GM Talks is going to be just like that. It's a very complex, and some of the part of the game I know what I'm doing, and some of the part of the game, to be honest, I'm not really sure. I had some idea on how to play this position, but probably not correctly. It was a very intense and I think good game in a sense, even though the computer of course finds a lot of flaws. This is in the all moves explained category. That means we will go through all the moves, just so you will see my thought process, the GM talks process of thinking, not talking, during the whole game. So let's get into it. I'm white against trough. Kassen, I don't know how to spell it. It's pronounced. He's Norwegian and a decent player. I think he'll be a GM pretty soon. He's pretty strong. Played also in the Kronborg Chess Open. I start with d4. As the last game, I started with c4. So let's mix it up. And he somehow played this move, which was a bit surprised that he played the Slav. The idea with the Slav is, of course, to not let this bishop be locked in behind the pawns like you do when you play the Queen's Gambit. Okay, good opening, and I play Queen b3. That's sort of a special line I have prepared a little bit for Johnny Hector, but also in general I think this is a pretty cool move. I'm a little bit inspired by players like Mamudyarov and Krasenkov, who likes to get their queen out, and sometimes it gets kicked around and sometimes it just lands on some place where it can attack. This is what happens today, but it was maybe not, a little bit random, I don't know. e6, the main move is to take here on c4. By the way, Queen b3, instead, you can also go Queen c2, which sort of, and if it takes, it's the same position, but I don't like it after g6. I think it's fine for black. So the queen is just not placed well on. So Queen b3 makes more sense. If you played e6 against Queen c2, you can play g3 going into a Castellan, which is probably equal. e6 is a completely different way to play than d takes c4, which is definitely the main line. Bishop d5, knight d7, knight c3, and notice I wait with the knight c3 until he put the knight here, so I can take back with the queen, and this pawn is hanging out to b5. We'll see this in a second. And e3, and here he takes on c4, and he was probably surprised I took back with the queen. The idea is, his idea was to play something like this. The bishop goes and play in typical in typical Miron way with this, and that's probably fine for him. But when I take with the queen, this pawn is hanging, so he cannot play b5. And that's already confused him a lot. So he played a6. I played bishop e2. And here I could really sense he was getting confused, because at some point I might just go e4, e5, which is the idea between a6 is of course to prepare this move again, but still this is hanging, and I will just take it. I think it's a free pawn on so rook a7, and he's preparing again b5, which was his idea. The idea is, if I for instance castle now, he will play b5, and I cannot take here due to this move, and the queen is trapped in the middle of the board. So that's the idea behind rook a7. But when you think of it logically, rook a7, that is one move. Usually you are able to kick the queen with immediately, and now you have to play rook a7 to kick the queen. So that sounds good for me. That I must be somehow a tempo up here. I played e4, getting ready to play e5. That's the idea. And he of course plays b5. I cannot take again. This is a disaster, as we can see. So, but that was also not part of the plan. I'll go queen d3, and this kind of position you can often get with black to move and the rook here and the bishop here, and when he plays c5 and he probably equalizes. Here he doesn't have control over d5, which is annoying. h6, kicking the bishop, sort of trying to avoid something with e4, knight e4. I might sometime play something like this, and there can be a square here, push back, and c5. That was the plan all along. And if black just managed a few more moves, he will be more than fine, because this kind of setup is good for black. Is kind of good for black. It's not good for black in this situation, but in general it's not bad for black to have this situation. Notice both of us have not castled yet, and that's because the position is so sharp. There's so much to do that none of us really have the time to castle yet. But I castle here. I decided I couldn't decide if e5 was good, so I decided to castle immediately here, and he took on d4, queen takes, and my queen is making a lot of moves, but it's also very influential in the game. For instance, something like bishop c5, I'll just go here, and I will have a lot of pressure with all my pieces, and he does not really have the maneuvering time. So he played this move. This is probably a bad move. The computer definitely does not like this move. I didn't see this. I could actually take here now and force this move. And after this, I think I must be better here, because, well, first of all, I'm threatening b4, but also this is hanging, so his king will be like, will be like forever trapped in the center. There's no way where you can put the king now where it will be safe. And that's kind of the thing I like, when you have sort of a eternal attack, that it will never be. Okay, so he kicked the bishop c5, castle, take, knight c5. But my idea the whole time was that I would be better in these kind of middle games with my queen. My queen is sort of sailing around, but is not doing that badly, so I went here. And also I liked that it was still x-raying the rook here. He played g5, preventing bishop takes f6, which was also again the bishop has to cover here. Bishop went back, and queen b6. And I played knight d4, and I don't think the computer liked this knight d4. So I think the computer wants rook ac1 here, something like this, with the idea that after this you probably can play this move because of these troubles here, which is kind of cool. So that was probably very good for me to play rook ac1. I didn't play that. I thought that it would be I don't know. I think I was a little bit afraid of knight g4. Let's see, go something like this and queen d4, and I was not completely convinced about this position, but I think it's just good for me. I'm threatening the rook, and so he doesn't have time for rook d7 and kicking the queen again. So what should he do here? I don't know, but I think it looks good for white. It looks like really dangerous. You could maybe castle, but I don't know. I maybe can play b4. I'm not sure what to do exactly there. Maybe e5 is actually, it looks also interesting, kicking this guy. And knight e4. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah. Okay. b4. That's a good move. Kicking the knight, and my idea the whole time was to play this move, and I thought that this would be very unpleasant. His king would be in big trouble, but it's not as bad as it looks. And he played this move, which must be bad. I think he has to take. Probably have to take. And I had not decided if I was going to sacrifice the exchange or not here. I thought this could probably be extremely dangerous for him. We have to decide. Queen. And we'll have to take back. And I thought this was very, very dangerous, but it's might not be. The computer might not like it at all, and you never know. I could also just play rook b1 and get the pawn back, and still this bishop would be strong and some chances here. When we decided to play this move, and I can go back, which is fine. Went here, knight d2, it's coming here, and what I should explain every move, of course. Bishop b7 looks natural. This diagonal is black's main hope in these kind of positions. This is what you're living for. This bishop on b7 is the good bishop, and the control over the white squares, hoping the black squares will hold. Knight e2, getting the knight back to the game, and of course this square looks juicy for the knight. Bishop d5, also maybe a natural move, maybe not the best. I think rook c1 is probably fine as well. Maybe you can even play f4. That's because this is basically what you want to do. I was very afraid that something would come here with bishop c5 and so on, but it's not so likely that this will work, and I probably have bishop f2 no matter what. Anyway, rook c1 also looks natural. There's a check down here. There's still this, and this, by the way, this kind of position is one that humans can never ever play completely correctly. This will always be mistake on mistake, and sometimes good moves, and you try to calculate something, and then turns out what you calculated was completely wrong, because there is some intermediate moves that you just didn't see, and basically rook c7 looks also natural. B3, and to be honest, when I played b3, I kind of felt that it was not the best move. It felt wrong. It felt like, okay, you're giving away something, because he's not really threatening to take this one here. I still do have this under control, so it's kind of a lazy move, b3, and I knew it when I played it, but it was, I didn't know what to do, and I was very nervous for getting into time trouble, because I'm not very good in time trouble anymore, and this kind of position is extremely difficult to play with little time, so it would be very unpleasant to more or less run out of time. So I thought, okay, just make sensible moves. No matter what, I must be fine here. But I think the best move is probably f4, just attacking, and if possible, play f5 and have very serious attack. And I think black is in deep trouble in this position. I don't know why I was still seeing, I think, ghosts on this diagonal here. Anyway, b3, queen b7, getting out of the pin and eyeing this square. And the computer wants to play something knight, I think knight here. Up displayed f3. Very lazy move, and it didn't feel completely right, but on the other hand, I thought, okay, he still had problems with his king. The king is still the target. Okay, knight f8. He was afraid. I think the computer think he should just castle, and that's probably correct. But still, that's something That's not that easy just to castle here. I play knight c4. I will have, maybe I can play h4 at some point. And no matter what, his king will not be completely safe when these pawns have gone sailing away. So he thought, okay, I'll put the knight on d6. And I thought, okay, I maybe put the knight on d6. And he didn't like that. And I took back with the rook. I think that's fine. Knight g6. And rook c1, and the computer definitely does not like rook c1, and it looks so natural. So how can this move be bad? But the computer actually wants this move to be able to play f4, and that's probably be better. Just trying to say, okay, your king will never ever be safe, and I need this bishop to get out, and this one prevents these two from doing anything. So, but okay, this natural move, and castle is a mistake. I think he can play this move, which would have been smart, just getting the knight in here, and because here we see what's the problem with the rook c1. Very typical computer stuff, and that was not part of the plan. So knight f4 would have probably been good. Still very unclear position, but black is fine, I guess. Castle looks dangerous. Bishop d3. That was kind of my idea. I liked that he's not able to take because of the pin here. So he had to go here and take, and this move the computer definitely does not like. I think it prefers f4 here. Looks very natural, very natural indeed. And I don't know, I thought something bad could happen somehow, and I don't know why I thought so, because it's basically not going to. Anyway, so I played bishop f2, and the idea was to get rid of this ghost in this diagonal was maybe there for too long. So that's probably bad. King f7, that looks wrong. It should have gone to h7. I think the idea to string this pawn is correct, because here I played h4. Looks natural, giving the king some air, and of course starting the softening of this pawn structure. This, you also see that this knight is a little bit. There's a lot of things going on in black's position, but the thing is, the computer really like this move, because the f-file is a big problem for black, and the king needs to cover this one, otherwise something bad will happen. So f4 would have been pretty cool move, according to the computer. Anyway, that's not the kind of, I think I'm not dissatisfied with h4. I thought during the game that was pretty nice. Knight d7, and I took, and he took on c4, and here I missed something. By the way, it's natural that he tried to exchange something, and the idea behind king f7, of course, to get the knight away, getting this covered, and take here. But it's a little bit fragile, and you can feel it. You can just feel that the king is not well on f7, and here after this take, then I have this intermediate move here that's really annoying for black, because suddenly this pawn is hanging. Oops, and it will go lost pretty quickly. If he goes anywhere, the queen will go to d4 or something, and all bad. Instead, I took back with the pawn. I thought that was pretty smart, because I want a rook on the board for my attack on his king. He took back, and I played f4, and that looks natural. This looks like the kind of right move for. I was onto it now that I have to get after this king, no matter what. And he played d4, and I played this move, which I thought was well, I thought I was more or less winning. The thing is, the computer really likes this move, and black is busted. The queen is coming in on h6 after g takes, and well, it's a mess. So this king f7 really gets punished in the way. I thought, but this is also not a bad move, and it's a very natural move. And the thing I'm most proud of here is actually, even though the computer now says that queen h4 is really, really strong, I was a little bit worried here that it might not be that strong, and I thought that this move was pretty good, because the rook needs to be part of the game, and the idea is to take back with the rook on d4. The bishop is fine here, and the rook is better covering here, so I thought it was pretty smart. I took back with the rook, clearly the best move, keeping his queen out of this counterplay, putting some pressure on here, and getting ready to take this pawn, and of course getting ready to come after the king. Knight c5, that's the wrong way for the knight. It definitely had to go to f8 just to stay in the game. Simply trying to bolster the king's side, and maybe one day get some counterplay. It would take some time for me to get this to an attacking position, so it definitely had some chances with if he goes knight f8. Still, I think white is much better, and I took on d4. It's sort of a natural move, but again, the computer really liked this queen h4, saying, oh, we don't care about this pawn, we just want to go down and do damage on your position here. But this is the human way, just taking the pawn, making sure that my bishop can come out, and covering d1 with the rook and so on. I thought, oh, this can't be bad, and I'm sure it's not bad. b3, trying to get some counterplay, getting the queen to become active, and now I finally played the move that the computer won all along. And now it turned out that he's actually much more busted than I thought he would be when the queen gets in over the black squares. Start with check, and king goes away, and g5. Well, to be honest, there's no defense now. This is I'm coming. There's this square, there is this rook coming in and eliminating the knight, and then the rook will come to d7, and there's basically no defense here for black. g5 is well, you can play that, but it doesn't matter, and now the rook has another way in. Of course, black is hoping, of course it's also covering down here, black is hoping that he might get this in one day. Queen e6, but check, nasty stuff, rook f6, just kicking the queen, queen g7, getting ready for this one, and eyeing this one. Whoops. Where it will be with check. Maybe it's not so bad, but black is clinging on to any kind of counterplay. g6, I thought that was pretty smart. The idea, of course, to play rook f7, check, double check. So on rook 8, I just play rook f7. My queen is covered here, so I'll just win a rook. Running, and that's just losing. Take here, and take, and eliminating the defender, taking back, and the king is now toast. It's mate, enforced mate. Check, and rook, and he resigned. It goes like this, and here, and here, and black is mated. So that was a very complex, very difficult middle game, not so easy to maneuver. At the point, I thought the f3 and b3 moves are the kind of move you make when you're older, and you know somehow that this is not really what you want to play, but it's difficult to calculate, and you don't know what to do, and you realize, okay, maybe it's not that bad, and you keep some of the advantage. And the good thing about it is, I think I had the advantage the whole game. But of course, it was swinging from more or less totally winning to a little bit unclear, to very good, to a little bit better, and to difficult for black, to completely lost, and so on. Anyway, it was an exciting game, and I knew, of course, during the game I was not playing flawlessly, but I would not imagine that it would be that bad as it turned out when I turned on the computer. Anyway, this was GM Talks. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this.